Hello and welcome. And thank you everyone for joining us today to our first PACCAR Women's Association Fireside Chat. This will be a relaxed conversation, allowing us to share our unique experiences and insights in organizational leadership with you. But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Lily Ley. I am the PACCAR Vice President and CIO. My main responsibilities is to keep up and running all the systems and infrastructure, is to renew our legacy application, is to keep PACCAR assets safe and secure, and contribute with the development of digital and connected services. Around 2 years, we start this lovely group of talented females in the organization called PWA, or PACCAR Women's Association. My role is to be the executive sponsor. What this really means to you? Well, basically my role is to motivate the team members, is to promote the progress of PWA and reassure its importance to our purpose. Gathering support from all levels and to provide ongoing direction to our goal and our main goal is to increase women in leadership roles. And our mission is to provide resources through education, networking, and mentoring to female employees. But more important, with me today are Brooke Vasquez and Erin Luke. Both of them named 2021 Top Women to Watch in Transportation by Redefining the Road, the official magazine of the Women in Trucking Association. I'm so honored to be here with both of you. And congratulations again for such distinguished recognition. Brooke is a great mom and very dedicated to her work commitment, very kind, humble, and a good team player. Brooke, please share your role and responsibilities, years in the company, and your role in PWA.
Thank you, Lily, and thank you for having me here today. Very kind words. I have been with PACCAR for 15 years. I am currently the Director of Operations for PACCAR Parts Europe. And what that means is I have responsibility for supply chain, logistics, and our PDC operations to support DOF products around the world. I've been in this role for 2 years, living in the Netherlands, and it's been quite an exciting adventure for us. My role in the PWA, I would say, is a promoter, somebody who advocates for women and promotes women in the organization and uses the PWA and these types of events to talk about how to develop and encourage women to grow within the organization.
Thank you. That is such a nice career in the organization. Another strong, hard worker, and lovely mom is Erin. She is very focused on delivering on her commitments. She is very passionate and a strong voice when she has a different point of view. Same for you, Erin. Please share your role and responsibilities, years with the company, and your role within PWA.
Thank you, Lily. Well, my name is Erin Luke, and I'm the Assistant Director for our newly formed PACCAR North American Materials team. We have consolidated our Peterbilt and Kenworth division materials teams, and we've been focused on benchmarking each other to create uniform processes, structures, and systems so that we can pave the way forward for our collective future. And through that process, it's really helped us identify where we have some opportunities for growth as well as operational excellence. My tenure with the company, like Brooke, is 15 going on 16 years. 15 of those have been here at Peterbilt, and one of those with PACCAR in purchasing. During that time, I've had a number of roles within the controllers group, our sales and marketing, sales operations, purchasing, and now materials. So I feel like that's really helped me grow in my career and see a broader perspective of the organization. As far as PWA, I do serve on our governance committee, and I'm also on our steering committee for the PACCAR Peterbilt Women's Initiative, and alongside helping grow those teams, we're providing guidance to our leadership teams and helping drive the discussions between PWA and the other chapters that are just getting their footing and getting started up.
Thank you, Erin and Brooke. After listening, both of you, the tenure in the company, all your experience are for sure two powerful ladies that we can watch and follow, and for sure to inspire the new generations in our company. Not only for females, but males that sometimes they need some guidance from us. Now it is time to start our conversation with Brooke and Erin. Congratulations again on being recognized as a top woman to watch. What that means to you to be a top woman to watch in the trucking industry. Who wants to start?
I think what it means to me is that it's another opportunity to bring light to and open a conversation around women at PACCAR and women in transport. We work in a great industry that is exciting and growing. You look at the technology that's coming into this industry, and there's a lot that appeals to women and people that are graduating schools or looking for a new start in their careers. And I think being a woman to watch in trucking is just another opportunity for us to talk and get a platform to attract new talent and new people to PACCAR and into leadership across the organization. So just look at it as a great opportunity to keep the conversation going and highlight where we want to be in the future.
Thank you, Brooke. Erin?
Yeah, so for me, I guess it means that I've done something right and positively captured someone's attention. But honestly, I've always looked at those previous winners and wondered what was their journey and what struggles did they overcome and what advice do they have. So basically, what can I learn from them? So for me, I think it's an opportunity to share my journey, and maybe others can relate and see how that helps them through their process. So, both Brooke and I have challenging roles, and it's challenging to balance between the everyday demands of work, and then when you leave work, you have another work, job when you go home. So it's not always easy, but trying to just lead by example and be a positive role model, I feel, can help drive change within, not only our organization, but within the industry as a whole.
Great. As you know, our industry, it has historically been a male-dominant industry. Both of you have a number of years with the company. Have you observed any changes within our industry or workplace over your years of experience with PACCAR?
So I'll start. So for me, I honestly feel lucky that I've never personally felt like my gender has been a disadvantage for me in any way, shape, or form in my career. When I first started working out of college, it was actually for a different company. It was a tax firm. And at that company, that culture, there were actually a lot of women leaders. So I had that instantaneous role model to help me picture, what was possible. Now, when I came over to the trucking industry, I didn't find that I could look around and see the same, but I did know that it was possible. So for me, I think it was just finding my way, having that courage to step out of my comfort zone and make sure I found the right mentors to help, guide my path to what I knew was possible. And honestly, I can say that since joining the company, the culture has changed tremendously, both within the walls and within industry. So I think this is largely in part to the awareness that our diversity initiatives have brought.
Very true. I completely agree with your comment. But Brooke, what is your opinion?
Yeah, I think, since I started in the organization, I started at PACCAR right out of school. And so for me, the one thing I really enjoyed my entire career is everybody here had a voice, right? We could, if you wanted to change something, make a small change, a big change, you just needed to speak up, right? You needed to have that courage and that confidence to be who you are and to share your ideas. But the environment has changed substantially. I think, even from the first management team I was on, being the only woman to now often sitting across the room from other women, other cultures. The diversity has increased and that's changed in a very positive way. But like Erin, I think I've never seen being a woman or my gender impacting me, right? I've just kind of plugged along in my career, enjoyed the experiences, enjoyed the challenges. And I had these great people, right? Men and women that challenged me and pushed me outside my comfort zone and helped me develop in a way that I could have that confidence and move forward. And I think that persists at PACCAR. That is still here. That support system, that development, and that culture of reflection and getting better each and every year. So I think for me, there's some things that have stayed the same that I'm really glad. And then it's also good to see that change occurring and more people moving up into leadership roles.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Let me ask you the next question. I'm curious to hear from you, your own experiences. How have sacrifice or trade-offs play in achieving your goals? Can you offer insights into how you had managed your career and personal life?
In terms of, the sacrifice and balancing work and life together, I think for me, it's been about intentional choices. There are sacrifices you make, right? You choose to take opportunities in your career, which means there's probably a trade-off someplace else. And what I've told myself and what I've made the commitment to my family on is when I'm home and I'm with you, I'm going to be 100% committed to that. And when I'm working, they're going to get 100% of me as well. And I think by making that commitment, and whether it's deep work or deep family, I'm going to be committed to where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I think the idea of intentional choice is important there, because there's things that I'm willing to sacrifice and there's things I'm not, right? And it's Erin's a mom, Lily, you're a mom. There's things that we don't want to miss as mothers, right? We all play these various roles, and at times you deal with guilt, at times you deal with sacrifice. But at the end of the day, I'm making intentional choices. And my son, for me, my son plays baseball. He loves baseball. And I told myself early on in my career as he progressed, and even now while he's at college and I'm in the Netherlands, I'm not going to miss an important game. I'm not going to miss him taking the mound. And I think, whatever those important things are in your life, the things that drive you, the things that have value to your family, you need to support, and you need to make those intentional choices to be there, to show up, just as you do at work every single day. And so I think that's how I find balance, is I have those lines and I try to hold myself accountable to them.
Thank you, Brooke. This is really powerful. And I witnessed that you follow the games through your phone, whatever the time is. So yes, you are a truly very dedicated mom and very dedicated hard worker. So thanks for sharing. Erin?
So I loved your term, intentional choices, Brooke. I mean, I think that it's so true. Anything we do has to have a reason to sacrifice or trade off time at home. It goes back to that, balance point that you have to have with any of these intentional choices, that strong support system, both inside work, but more importantly outside, because more often than not, what we're sacrificing or making a trade-off for is going to be your loved ones. So for me, my husband, he's also a PACCAR employee. So we're constantly having to challenge or juggle that challenge of the demand between both of our careers. And we have two sons. They're going on 10 and 12 this year. So they're right at that prime age where we're busy. And so when we leave our day jobs, we start our night jobs and our weekend jobs. And it's all about being intentional, like you said, with our choices, making sure there's that clear connection and communication and being present. Because for us, that's making sure that, we're collectively deciding how we're going to divide and conquer and say, I'm sorry, when I get home, I need you to take this. I need go maybe log back on to work to finish up this one thing that I had that I didn't get to finish when I left the office. And fortunately, I think for us, we both understand that we have to be a team. And, you know, it's all about working together, balancing that out and making sure that, you know, at the end of the day, I don't feel like I feel guilty because I sacrificed something and missed out on something, because living with that guilt when you did miss something is the worst feeling.
I completely understand, and I completely feels the same situation. I am a mom, 2 daughters. I have been with the company more than 31 years. But the time that I was growing professionally, I didn't really have a role model to follow. So it was very bumpy for me. But at some point, I always share with my team is that I normally say I draw my line, and I will never sacrifice my family, my daughters, and the core values that for me I consider important to me, to my family. I will never give up on those. And that is how I continue developing my career in the company, and I am where I am because I had been so clear up front about my personal expectations, about my professional expectations, and be clear and transparent. And if something fits in my framework, good. And if doesn't, good. But the most important is something that you just say, Erin, no regrets. Everything we do, everything we decide, it needs to be with the intent of is good for everyone. And sometimes we take decisions that people will like, people won't like, but at the end, we are here to not to please people. We are doing to do the best we can for the people working for us and to achieve the goals in the company. So it's great to hear that at the end, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you do. I think that we are looking for the same balance and for the same type of goals. And both of you mentioned, well, I have 2 daughters. I want to be a good role model for them. I want to develop a better environment for them. But at the end, I don't know you experience the same. I'm still being mom for them. And they won't listen, and they will really figure out outside of me. Even I'm trying to be a friend for them, I'm still the mom. So I need to continue working at home with my two daughters. But this is really fascinating. So moving a little bit about the cultural aspects, and as you may know, in the world, there are a lot of movements, there are a lot of organizations, and there are a lot of noise happening around us. And maybe people speaking are stronger today. But I would like to hear from both of you, how do you leverage everyone's unique experiences and backgrounds? And how do you honor those with differences and encourage them to really be part of wherever you are? Erin?
So I think honestly here at PACCAR, one of the things that is fantastic and what sets us apart from our peers is that we've got such a variety of opportunity. And with that comes a variety of people that you get to work with day in, day out. And that was one of the first things that attracted me to starting a career here. The company I was working for, while I loved it, it was the same thing every day, just a different customer. And I didn't feel like I'd really get an opportunity to learn something different every day. And so as I progressed in my career here within PACCAR, I feel like there's not a day that I don't learn something. And I find that incredibly, challenging and exciting at the same time. So I think a lot of others in the organization probably feel the same way. And I do know that, as a manager, one of the things that comes with, managing such a diverse workforce and those that stay with the company for a long time is that we have a lot of tribal knowledge within this company, and that can be challenging. So as far as managing the variety of personnel, I think that's just a challenge that we have to make sure that we've got, the right people in the right places, the right training, cross training, et cetera. But to go back to the fact that, PACCAR is a diverse workforce. I think that people come here for a reason and they stay for a reason because there is opportunity. There is something for everybody. And I think that with these initiatives that we're creating, it's generating a place for people to be able to find connection and somewhere where they feel like they belong and can connect with others, right? And I think connection is huge. Being able to have friends at work, have people that share your common goals and that you can relate to on other levels, I think is something that, again, attracts people to stay. So the more that we can do that within our organization, I think it's better for us as a whole.
Thank you, Erin. Brooke, now you spent your first 13, 14 years in North America working for the same company, but now you are in Europe. Have you seen any cultural difference? Have you seen something different? Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, I think, there are some pretty distinct cultural differences. And it's interesting how community kind of breeds culture, right? Living in the Netherlands, the distance is just so much smaller. So their lifestyle is so different, right? They ride their bikes and walk to the grocery stores, and right. So their communities are smaller and tighter, and you see that in their behaviors, right? And where they live and how they work. But when you go into the organization, right, we just got done talking about work-life balance. They had, and we spoke to how do you balance work with life. They expect work to be balanced. They expect some of the energy and passion to come from the work itself, right? So whereas we tend to try to balance work and life, they look to balance their work and how they work, so that they're getting energy and they feel like they're having an impact. They talk about their value structure constantly, about how they want to live their life and live at work, right? And so for me, I think when you talk about how do you recognize the differences and then develop those differences into something innovative or more than what we have if we all assimilate or become the same, right? I think for me, one way that I really try to do that, especially since being here, is I've had to reestablish a network. At home, after being there for 13 years, I felt like I knew so many people. I could pick up the phone and talk to somebody, but here I had to let people get to know me. And what that means is I had to make friends, right? I had to put out an olive branch. I had to really connect and put my values out there and be a little me, right? A little more crazy than I normally would be at work, and let people get to know you and have a little fun. And I think by doing that, you break down some barriers and you really get to see who somebody is and who they may want to be, right? They might be quiet in a meeting, but if you get an opportunity to talk with them one-on-one and you see that they have these ideas, these great ideas, how do you get that? How do you pull that out of them in a meeting where we need to do idea generation? We need to get the brainstorms out there. We need to do the value stream mapping. How do you get that person with a unique background, with maybe a unique education, or here in Europe, you might have somebody that's from Germany or Spain, or that speaks 5 languages because of their upbringing. And so that is a unique experience that we need to leverage. How do you get them to come out and actually be themselves and engage and get that from the Netherlands perspective, get that energy and that passion that they're looking for out of their work. And I think for me, that's one thing I've really focused on since being here. And I think just that initial, I was in some ways forced to, by having to create that network and let people in with me a bit more. So
Yeah, I completely can see that. And both of you really, um, really share that we need to be authentic and we need to show how we are, who we are, and not trying to play a role at home different than at work. There are different functions, but we are the same person. And I think that is very important to distinguish our responsibilities by continuing being the same core central person and be authentic all the time. I think that is key, and you basically share that with us today. Uh, how have you influenced change while staying true to your real passion with high integrity?
So I'll take that one. So I'm just going to piggyback off of what we were just talking about. And for me, the way I influence change is just to be me and be real. I think that that's the best thing we can do, because that allows, it allows my team to get to know me, know my style and my expectations. And I'll say that I appreciate that about anybody I interact with too. So I think it's natural that we all have some sort of greater trust in those that we've built working relationships with, and generally I have a greater respect for people that I feel like are being genuine. I do think that trust goes a long way in influencing the culture of a team. I don't want them to see me as just a manager or executive. I think it's important to understand that I have challenges just like they do every day. We're real people. Like I said earlier, and I leave the office, I take on a whole new role. And it's no different than what they have to deal with day in, day out. So part of being in PWA and PB Win, I think it's important for us all to recognize and listen to our teams and understand how we can continue to influence that change. And I think that we're doing that through these initiatives. It's important for us to be the voice for those that don't feel like they can have a voice or have the confidence to speak out. So I think what we're doing here today is really great, and it's going to be powerful for the company.
Good, thank you, Erin. Brooke?
Yeah, I think, I guess I'll add on to what Erin said, because I agree with so much with what she said. It really resonates. But I will add on that I think, when you're looking at change, encouraging yourself or taking the time for yourself to reflect. Self-reflection is a big part of how I've developed over the years, right? Comments from people, what you choose to take in, what you choose not to. Working with your teams to assess how a meeting went or how a project developed over time, and really asking them the difficult questions of how the success or failure happened, so that we can all learn from that. And I think it's through that process, right? The process of self-reflection, development, and then figuring out how to make something even better. And I think if you don't take the time to look back and to say, what did I miss along the journey, right? And we're only focused on the goal, we miss such a huge opportunity to get to that next level of thinking, that next innovative idea. And so when we get to the target, right? Because we're going to get to the target. That's what we do. When we get there, take a minute, right? Recognize it, recognize the people around you, but also take a minute to reflect and think about, okay, what could we have done better? What could we have done to drive that next level of thinking? And I think if you can create a team that is naturally doing that process, that is challenging the status quo, that is pushing those boundaries, I think it bleeds into everything, every part of this organization, including how people move through it, like with the PWA. right? Having these conversations that force us to reflect on our careers is a way to continue to push those boundaries. And I think it goes into every part of what we do, and it's how we change.
I agree. And I would like to add a little bit on two things that maybe we'll add on the comments you already made. Is about listen louder. And soft voice is not reflection of weakness. And those are, especially the second is a common recurrent comment that if we speak slow and or sometimes not that much, you are a weak person. But if you speak stronger, you are sounds like a bossy. So we need to always find that balance and always try to get the voice in the table. But those two items are very important to me, that listen louder and soft voice is not reflection of weakness. And it's very important that we always keep in the back of our minds and always, at least that's for me and my experience moving forward. How do you keep up with industry trends? Our industry is complex and big enough. So I'm curious to know what you do, how you keep moving, how you are up to speed with things happening around the world and around the specific areas you are involved. So, Brooke?
Yeah, so I think in my work life, how I keep up with industry trends is we do a lot of benchmarking. Even here in Europe, reaching out to not just other maybe heavy equipment manufacturers that sell aftermarket products, right? For me right now, or other supply chain companies, right? Working with our customers to understand new technologies. We'll reach out and do benchmarking, see what is coming at us. And I think that for me is always interesting. This innate curiosity to understand what the next thing is and asking those questions and building a network outside of PACCAR, I think is really important to be able to elicit those ideas and have those conversations. And there's a good structure for that here. In my off time or my personal life, I think, it's interesting during this pandemic time, there's been so much opportunity to read and to listen to podcasts and to, kind of infuse yourself with information. And so I've really, in some ways, enjoyed that, to be able to, above and beyond the benchmarking, which has quieted down in the last year because we're not visiting each other. We're not going into each other's plants or factories. And so, but we are able to connect via social media, via, like I said, podcasts or reading a Harvard Business Review, looking at different opportunities to just get that learning and get that information so that you stay ahead and understand what's coming at you.
Good. Thank you, Brooke. Erin?
So I have to admit, when I came into my role, it was at the beginning of the pandemic last year. So it was a really challenging time for me to feel like I had the same level of resources that I would have if I were to be starting a job when the pandemic wasn't going on. So for me, I had to, just like everybody else, learn how to work remotely, work virtually, keep the engagement with my team. And I feel like we all had some struggles throughout that time, but we all came out of this stronger. And I think we've all realized what we've really accomplished over the last year and didn't know that we could do that. And so that's, to me, one way I felt like I've stayed current with what's going on, just because everybody else was having to do it too. But on top of that, again, with my industry, being in materials, having come from purchasing, trade magazines are great. There's a lot of sites out there that you can get, information emailed to you every day for, hit lists of new information that's coming up. Like Brooke said, social media is fantastic too. You get a lot of information from there. I think that just having conversations with your peers and your team members, being a good listener, you pick up on a lot of what's going on. And again, with today's day and age, being intentional about keeping and building those connections and engagement with others that maybe you don't get to see all the time, but you can just as easily pick up the phone, schedule a meeting. I think that's the thing that we just can't replace moving forward. We've got to make sure we keep talking to each other and talking to others outside the company and industry, doing benchmarking. We learn a lot about the ways we can do things better by learning how others do it today, or things that they've tried and didn't work so well. I think that's part of any new thing that we create. I talked about the fact that we're consolidating our materials division right now. Benchmarking is critical for us, not only within ourselves, but understanding not maybe how others did it too, when they're combining two groups. Talking about, the employee resource groups with PBWin and PWA. We have to benchmark each other, benchmark others as well, just to, again, learn how did they do it? How did they start? What worked and what didn't? So, information is key, and it may not be the same for everybody, but for me, I think that one of the most important things I've found over time and throughout my career is just having those conversations and building those connections.
That's good. Thank you, Erin. And that's really helped me to get to the next question. It's about what advice do you have for our viewers today to skill themselves up to be our future leaders?
So I would say, if you're early on in your career, I think it's important that you understand who you are, what's important to you, and as you progress in your career, find somebody that exhibits that type of leadership style or that work-life balance that you strive for, that, wow, they've really got it figured out type of mentality, and maybe step out of your comfort zone and invite them to lunch. Get to know them better and develop a mentorship relationship, because I think that will really help you figure out how to build up your confidence and build your communication skills and really elevate yourself. Because to me, I think that with anybody, whether it be male or female, going out and taking that next step or putting your name in the hat for a promotion, whatever it is, it's all about confidence. And you've got to be able to have that support system and that structure around you that, again, helps you have the confidence to step outside of your comfort zone and build those relationships. I just think that's so critical for any one of us in having a successful career.
Sure. Brooke?
Yeah, I think, my advice would be, and building on what Erin said, is you have to know what you want. And it's more than just saying it in your head or thinking about it, over a coffee or tea with yourself. It's about vocalizing it and talking about it. Some of the hardest things to do isn't to actually go to work and say, I want to be the director of operations, or I want to be the assistant director of materials. It's about going to your child and saying, I want to move to Europe, or, I want to move to the US, whatever it might be. Those are the difficult conversations to have. So first, understand what you want. Second, figure out how you want to vocalize it and how you want to ask for it personally and professionally, because you really need that foundation. Erin mentioned support systems. You need a support system. You need to know that, to help build that confidence, that you have the right people around you. What I can say, I honestly believe you have the right people around you here at PACCAR. People want you to be successful. They want you to progress in your career. They want you to develop. So determine what you want, talk to a mentor, to a leader about what those things are, and then develop a plan to get there, right? What's the experience that I need? How do I need to educate myself to be prepared for that role or that opportunity when it arises? So, get more comfortable being uncomfortable. You're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to ask for things that are going to make other people maybe unhappy, or concerned or fearful, but ask for them. I think that's the first thing. Your voice is powerful, and saying you want something and being able to vocalize it goes a long way to getting the support you need to accomplish it. And so I think it starts with that, is self-reflection and understanding what your goals and targets are for yourself. And that includes, the goals for your family and the goals for, your personal life as well. I heard, Lily talk last year at the launch of the PWA here in Europe, and she said something, right? Family, health, work, and the priorities were clear, right? And she vocalized them. So people know when they meet her what that value structure is. And I think that's really important. We have to promote, using your voice, and it can be a soft voice, it can be a loud voice, but you got to use it.
Can't agree more than that, Brooke. We need to really speak out about things that doesn't make sense or things that we need to defend for the good of everyone. As a final question to you, ladies, what recommendations do you have for our PWA allies?
So this idea of allyship, I think, is fantastic because it applies to men, women, it applies to the people we work with every day, right? The people we trust, people who can be our advocates. And my advice, or what I would encourage, is stand up, right? Recognize when something's happening and say something. Listen louder. A soft voice doesn't mean a weak voice or weakness. I think we see it, right? So it's hard to sometimes recognize it, but pay attention when it does happen. Say something, develop the people around you and encourage them to act better, to act stronger as a community, and support each other so that, it gets better for the long term. I think there's a real opportunity here. And allyship is a great way to get started. So I love it.
Thank you, Brooke. Erin?
So advocacy is a huge part of our journey here at PBWin and as part of PWA as well. It was critical for us to have those allies and advocates in the workforce. So I think it's all about making a positive change collectively, speaking up for those that maybe don't feel like they have the voice. I think it's about influencing the ways that we talked about earlier, recognizing that making a positive influence on the organization to change the culture for the better, to bring awareness and make it a better environment for everybody to work in and create more confidence. It's to step out of the box. All that opportunity, it does exist today. It just takes, again, that advocacy for us to prop others up, give that encouragement, that confidence, that mentorship that they need to step out of their comfort zone and set high goals for themselves. So I think together we are doing amazing things. PWA is a great platform for all the groups to connect and work towards the same goal within PACCAR. And honestly, I'm really, really glad, and I think that it's great, and I'm really proud to be part of that.
Thank you, Erin. Well, we'll reach to the end. I'm so blessed to share the scenario with these two powerful ladies. Thank you, Erin, and thank you, Brooke. And congratulations for the well-deserved recognition. You really deserve that, and you are a truly example of powerful talent in the organization. Thank you and congratulations. To my dear fellows, thank you again for joining us today to our first Fireside Chat. We hope you feel inspired with useful strategies you can employ in your career growth. Thank you and have a nice day.